Thank you for joining us for the 2-Minute Drills. I'm Aram's Allegiance and Gabriel Valley Newspaper Group football writer, joined by Pasadena Star News Prep Sports editor Steve Ramirez. We got a little 2-for-1 special here as far as the 2-Minute Drills goes for you Pasadena area fans this week. Stevie, two really big games with league title implications going down on Friday night. The first of which that we'll talk about, we're going to talk about LaSalle and Bishop Montgomery in just a second, but the first one we're going to talk about is taking place at Muir. I will be there on Friday night. Muir, 4-3, 4-0 in the Pacific League, hosting Burbank, 5-2, 4-0 in the Pacific League. I know Arcadia's 3-1, Stevie R, but by all rights, the winner of this game will go to 5-0 in league, and they're going to be looking good toward that league title. So, take it away, man.
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of hand it to Muir after those three horrible losses to start the season. But everyone knew that once they got in the league play, they'd be able to turn it up, and that's exactly what they did. They were out. I think their first two opponents they shut out.
First three.
First three opponents they shut out. I think it was like 136-0, and then they kind of had a close game. I guess it was tied at one point, and they wound up winning 21-14
over Burroughs last week.
That kind of gives you concern,
doesn't it? Yeah, it does me too.
Yeah, because this is not a typical Burroughs team.
Right, they're 2-5.
Yeah, who's usually right there with Muir.
Yeah.
But for them to step up and give Muir some problems, you kind of have to worry going into Burbank, who's looked pretty good all year.
Right, yeah. Burbank, we talked about, like you said, if Muir had gone in and whipped Burroughs last week, I'd feel a lot better going into this week. But the fact of the matter is that, I don't know. Burbank has had as equally as easy a time in league as Muir has, but they've had an easy time. None of their games have really been that close. The closest one being last Friday's 38-21 win over Crescenta Valley. But Stevie, I still like Muir in this situation, and I think this is the reason. They have a distinct speed edge over everyone in the league. If they're able to utilize that, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, if they're able to utilize that right, I think that speed edge is going to get them home over a team like this. I don't know what it'll do for them in the playoffs, but I think it gets them home over Burbank. That's why I'm taking Muir.
Yeah, well, the thing I covered the Muir win over CV.
Yeah.
And the thing that I noticed, Muir, for the most part, is they commit a lot of kind of penalty mistakes, and they don't typically.
That's nothing new.
They don't typically drive on teams. Like a 15-play drive.
Yeah.
But what I noticed, they have a lot of 3-and-outs. But then in between there, they get like a 65-yard touchdown. They had a 90-yard touchdown run in that game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Burroughs' game plan was to just limit those big plays.
And I bet Burbank will do the same.
Burbank is going to try to do the same. But the question is, can they? And I don't think overall for an entire game they can do that. And Muir's going to hit some big plays, and I think that's going to be enough.
Right. So Stevie agrees. We both have Muir over Burbank in this game. Now we'll switch gears here to the Delray League, and boy, oh boy, the dream season at LaSalle is ongoing. But this week, this is the big one for them. They're going to Torrance to take on Bishop Montgomery. LaSalle is 7-0, 2-0 in league. Bishop Montgomery is 6-1, 3-0 in league. Because LaSalle swatted Mary Star out of the way last week, let's just call it for what it is, Stevie. There's some games left for both teams, but this is going to be for the league title.
Yeah.
And I got to think, just looking at it, I got to think LaSalle's a pretty good favorite.
Yeah,
even on the road.
Yeah, Bishop Montgomery has a pretty good record. They do have a big-time loss, a 56-0 loss. I can't remember who the opponent was. Oh, it was North Torrance. And LaSalle has just clocked everyone.
Right.
And as their coach said here last week, that true, they haven't played a lot of what you would call tough teams, but they've whacked them pretty good. So it's not like they're winning these games by 6-7 points. They're they're beating them by 30 and 40 points.
Just like a good team would. Yeah.
Good. And Bishop Montgomery in league has they have a couple 21-point victories in games that were tight for a while, and then they kind of just wore teams out. For that reason, the way LaSalle is playing, the way Bishop Montgomery is playing, and even though it's a road game for LaSalle, I still like them just with everything they bring to the table.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the records, but then you can also look at, on CalPreps, the ratings of both teams. LaSalle's a 19.9. Bishop Montgomery is a 0.8. That kind of tells you who they've played, who they've beaten, and how that's happened. And they actually project LaSalle to win by 20. I agree. I don't think this game's going to be close at all. And I'm taking LaSalle. I think you agree.
Yeah, it's the Bishop Montgomery's their toughest opponent. The only concern we have is that LaSalle hasn't had any game where where it's tough for them.
Right. So you worry about when they do hit adversity.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Whether they can pull away
Yeah.
from the team, but I think talent-wise they can. So I'm picking them. I'm not sure if I don't know. Maybe a 2-touchdown.
Okay,
game.
so a little less than the 20 that CalPreps projects.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's got LaSalle. I've got LaSalle. Now, reminder, folks, this one is at Bishop Montgomery, and on CalPreps is listed as starting at 6 o'clock. So we'll go with that. We'll say it starts at 6 o'clock, but if you get down there an hour early, so what? You'll still see the game at 7.
And considering the traffic going down to the south bay, I think you want to get down there a little early and get something to eat at least.
Right. First time I ever went to Bishop Montgomery, Stevie, was following the Bishop of Mont Girls High School basketball team down there, and Coach Ward kind of gave me some funky directions. I almost drove my car into the ocean. True story. So yeah, LaSalle fans, make sure you get off the right way because Bishop Montgomery is landlocked. You don't get there right off the freeway. You got to drive quite a bit,
and it's kind of hidden off the main street, if I remember right.
Yeah, but it's a cool little spot. Yeah. So nonetheless, we both have LaSalle. They're cruising towards 8-0 and possibly a 10-0 start in a Delray League win under first-year head coach Russell Gordon. So get out there, fans, and make sure LaSalle has its support on the road.